Before Obamacare, the most affordable plan that was available for a 30-year-old Texan, for a 30-year-old Texan woman was $470 a year. Today, under Obamacare, the cheapest plan that's available for a healthy 30-year-old woman in Fort Worth is $3,236.
That is our Senator Ted Cruz joining me now on the Chris Salcedo Show. Senator Cruz, welcome back to WBAP.
Chris, it's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
First off, I have to say, hat tip, brilliant job in debating the socialist from Vermont. You were well researched. You proved the folly of socialism beyond any shadow of a doubt. And I know for a fact you did a lot of prep, and man, you just came armed to the teeth with facts and figures, which the liberal left with their emotional leads can't really combat.
Well, thank you, Chris. It was a lot of fun. It was a lively night. You know, I think it was more substance. We spent 2 hours talking about health care and Obamacare. It was more substance than we might have had the entire presidential debate season. You know, typically in the course of a campaign, you end up having 60 or 90 seconds to address an issue. Every candidate throws out a talking point or two, and you don't get an opportunity really to delve into substance. I think it was a night that was helpful, and you're right. When the left thrives on misinformation, on scaring people, and on promising them free stuff. And when they're confronted with facts, they don't have a response because their policies don't work. Their policies have been a failure. Obamacare has been a train wreck. And everywhere on earth that socialized medicine has been implemented, the result has been rationing. The result has been long waiting lines. The result has been scarcity. It doesn't work. And I think we need to do a much better job bringing facts to the discussion when the left is trying to scare people.
In my mind, you are one of the standard bearers of modern conservatism in our nation. You are also one of the keen legal minds that we have on our side. I wanted to get your evaluation of what the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals did in
Sure.
making a decision on Trump's temporary travel ban. Sir, in your estimation, what did they do?
Well, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is famously the most liberal, the most activist, the most lawless court of appeals in the country. That's been true for 20, 30 years, and it's only gotten worse after 8 years of Obama appointments there. The standard for granting a temporary restraining order, which is what the district court did, is, among other things, the plaintiff has to show a likelihood of success on the merits. They have to demonstrate they're likely to prevail on the merits. The district court didn't assess that, and there was no law whatsoever in the district court's ruling. There was no facts. It was simply a one-sentence statement that the plaintiffs have demonstrated a likelihood of success on the merits. They completely ignored the law and facts, and the Court of Appeals did much the same thing. You know, the controlling federal statute explicitly gives the president the authority to suspend any class of aliens for any period of time he chooses, if the president determines that's in the national interest. That is, the immigration laws passed by Congress, signed into law by the president's black letter law. Neither the district court nor the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals even cited the controlling statute. They simply disagree with the policy, and because they're on the left, they decreed their own policy should be the law. I think on appeal, if this case is appealed, I think the Supreme Court is likely to reverse it, because under controlling law, the president has this authority. Listen, reasonable people can debate whether this is good policy or not. I happen to think it is perfectly common sense policy to suspend refugees for 4 months, as President Trump has done, when the FBI tells us they cannot vet these refugees to determine whether or not they're ISIS terrorists. But we can debate the policy. As a legal matter, I think it's quite clear the president has the authority to do this, and I think if the Supreme Court takes the case, that's what the court's likely to conclude.
Our guest is Senator Ted Cruz here in the great state of Texas. When we come back, the senator has been gracious enough to give us 2 segments, so we will ask him how we get back to the courts into their traditional role here in the United States, because many have observed these men in black, or these women in black, have gone over their purview. So that's coming up. The Chris Salcedo Show here on WBAP. Right back. 800-288-9227. Want to continue our interview with Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you for waiting for the news, sir. And the question that we came into the break with was this. The liberals in the courts, They have the courts weighing in on national security. They have them weighing in on immigration decisions. Short of an Article 5 convention, how do we return the courts to their proper constitutional role?
Well, the most direct way to do that is appointing to the bench jurists who will follow the law. And one opportunity we have is there are over 100 vacancies on the federal bench right now, the courts of appeals, the district courts, and I know the new administration, President Trump, intends to move quickly, nominating judicial appointments to fill those vacancies. In Texas, we've got quite a number that John Cornyn and I are working closely with President Trump to make sure we have principled constitutionalists appointed to the court and to the court whether at the Supreme Court with Judge Gorsuch or the Court of Appeals or the District Court. We need judges who will be faithful to the law, who will follow the Constitution, and who won't view being on the bench as being in a super legislature where they get to just enact whatever policies they like. Beyond that, we also need to engage in the public debate. We need to highlight when a court does something like the Ninth Circuit did just this past week, issues a lawless ruling, we need to call it out. We need to explain that this is not the judicial function to enact policies that these particular judges may happen to agree with.
You brought up public debate, and you took me right where I wanted to go. The American left, since the election, has disintegrated into violence, into extremism, into intimidation. Yep. In my view, and you know that this is where left-wing ideology ultimately goes anyway, because of your family's experience with Castro's Cuba. But this is ultimately where they go. When they lose in the arena of ideas, they want to go violent. They've stopped Betsy DeVos from entering into a public school. They're issuing death threats to a singer on the Grammy stage because she wore a pro-Trump dress. And the comparisons, I think, are wrong, Senator, comparing this version of the American left to the Tea Party. I don't recall the Tea Party ever going anywhere near violence. We would just pick up our trash and rally and be on our way. Are you concerned about where this turn has gone with the American left, where it's headed?
Chris, I am concerned. I think the far left is in a state of denial, and they're angry. They're boiling over with rage, and it's manifesting a lot of ways. In the Senate Democrats are filled with fury. They're mad at the American people for the election. It's not Republicans they're mad at. They're mad at the voters. They're mad. How dare the voters elect President Trump? That's what the Democrats believe, and they express their anger by lashing out, by trying to shut things down, by boycotting committee hearings, by obstructing at historic levels. And part of it is they're afraid of their base. A Democratic senator told me a week ago that every Democratic senator is scared of being primaried from the left, and the activists, the leftists, they resort to violence because at the end of the day, the basic divide between left and right is the left believes in government power. The left believes the government should control every aspect of your life. As conservatives, we believe in freedom. We believe you should control your health care. You and your doctor should make decisions for your family's health care, not the federal government. We believe you have a right to start a business and to make decisions in your own life. And because the left believes in government power, they're perfectly willing to use power and violence to silence anyone who disagrees, because there is nothing as intolerant as a leftist. On the right, we're used to arguing with leftists. Fine, you disagree, you're a socialist. That means you've listened to your college professors. Let's have a conversation, and facts are a powerful thing.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. Last thing I wanted to get with you on, Houston Chronicle running a piece today about a wave of fear. Now they say the immigrant community, but you and I know it's the illegal alien community that has this wave of fear, because the state of Texas in particular, the state you represent, will be one that actually criminalizes, for the first time in U.S. history, sanctuary cities and the elected leaders who undertake these sanctuary city policies. Where do you stand on all this, Senator?
Well, sanctuary cities are wrong, and I'll tell you, Texans are fed up with sanctuary cities. You look nationally, you've got Democratic politicians in cities across the country who declare their cities a haven for lawlessness, and they actively thwart federal immigration law. You take, for example, San Francisco, maybe the most liberal big city in the country. San Francisco is where Kate Steinle was murdered. Kate Steinle, a beautiful 28-year-old woman, walking on the pier with her father, was shot by an illegal alien who'd been in and out of jail repeatedly, multiple criminal convictions, deported repeatedly, had come back illegally every time. And the San Francisco authorities had him in custody. They released him. They refused to cooperate with the federal authorities, and this criminal murdered this young woman as she was dying in her father's arms. Her last words were, "Daddy, please help me." This is wrong. And I commend the Trump administration for taking a reasonable line to uphold the rule of law on sanctuary cities. I commend Governor Abbott. He's doing the right thing, saying in Texas we're going to follow the law. And we're going to find out from Democratic politicians who are defying the law just how committed they are to their lawlessness, because what the president has said and the administration has said is you're going to lose your federal dollars if you are defying federal law. My guess is a fair number of those Democratic politicians are going to decide they like the money more, and so they're going to do some backflips to finally comply with federal law, which is what we ought to be doing.
Yeah, it's sad it had to come to that. Senator Ted Cruz, everybody here, the great state of Texas. It's always a pleasure talking with the Senator. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it, and thank you to all the great Texans for standing up and defending freedom.